What's up? What's up? It's John here from JJSC Tech, and I'm in portrait mode today because, all right, focus. You need to focus because I'm supposed to be going live on Instagram. But am I live on Instagram though? I am. I am. Okay, cool, cool, cool. All right, so it's working. This is my first time live on Instagram. Outside is mad cold, but in here is super hot. All right, so let's get to it. So I am going to go over the best purchases I've made when it pertains to media, the media purchases I've made. I've made a video about the worst purchases I've made, but I've never really spoken about the best purchases. And this pertains to all media. So I'm into cinematography. I'm also into cinematic live streaming. I also I do a bit of podcasting as well. So I have like gear for all of those things. So where are we going to start? Oh no. Probably going to start with sound. Yeah, let me start with sound. So when it comes to sound, some of the best things are, of course, you got to start with the microphone. So the microphone is good. A lot of people don't talk about the cable. Now, the cable is very important because the cable, depending on how durable and if it's shielded, that's going to play a big role in how your audio sounds. So the best purchases I've made for cables was the Mogami Gold and the Canary Star Quad. Those are the two best cables. All the other cables that I've tried, they're not that great. They're not that great at all. So let me, boom. Let me do something like this. So when it comes to cables, Canary Star Quad. Is that too small? It looks a little small. Is it too small? I gotta make sure. Boom. Not really. Kinda. Whatever. I mean, if it's too small, then I can always increase the size. But as of right now, it's pretty good. So these are the best cables. These are some of the best cables I've ever purchased. And I use these for connecting the microphone to the audio interface. If I'm doing like live production, like this connected to like the drums to the snake, the keyboard to the snake, the DA box, whatever. These cables are great. As you see, they aren't that expensive. $34.95 for the 25 feet. And the other cables that I use is the Mogami Gold. Mogami Gold Studio. They're a bit more expensive. Now, I only get these if I can't find the Canary Starquads. These are the only cables that I get if I can't find Starquads, because they're on the expensive side. They're OD expensive. But they're good. They're good. I mean, once you buy these cables, they also have a lifetime warranty. These cables don't break, and I've had these for years. They're great. And that's pretty much about cables. So these were the best cables I've ever purchased. These and the Canary Starquads. And let's go to microphone. So since I do a whole bunch of stuff, I not only do cinematography, like commercial work or corporate interviews, I also do live streaming. And I've learned a thing or two when it comes to dialogue microphones. I first started out with the MKE 416. This was my first boom microphone. This is a wonderful mic. Great mic. Good sound. There's a lot of feedback. It just sounds really good. Really, really good. I have learned a few years ago that you can't use this microphone in every scenario, because I've used this for a live stream, an indoor live stream, and every time the person moves and goes left and right off axis, the voice is kind of like muffled. So that's not a good thing. So I use this only for outdoor work. A cheap hack is you can also use this for like voiceovers, because it's really good in close proximity. I also use the MKE 80. Is it the 8050? Or just the Sennheiser 8050? Yeah, this mic, wonderful, wonderful boom microphone for indoors. This is amazing. What's up, Chris? What's up? What's up? What's up? How you doing? So this microphone is great. It has a good polar pattern, and it's just great for indoor work. Let me move this, guys. Let me move this right up here. Boom. Boom. Let me see if I messed that up. All right, cool. Cool. I'm good. How are you? Happy New Year. It's been a while. It's been a while. We gotta talk. So this is the one of the best indoor boom microphones I've used. I also use another indoor boom microphone. It's the Sheps. I always can't spell Sheps. Was it SCHOEPS? Did I spell it right? Yes, I did. This microphone. This is another great indoor boom microphone. The only thing about this microphone, it can be a bit weird on certain people's voice, and it is very sensitive. So if you have someone speaking and they wave their hands a lot, this microphone can pick up the wind from the hands. So you got to be very careful with this microphone, and you have to use this foam screen right here. What is this called? What's the right name for that? Pop filter. Is it a pop filter? I guess this foam pop filter right here. Make sure you use that. Make sure you use that. Yeah. So the other thing that saved me, so if you're going on gigs, it's best to have your main audio and have backup audio just in case your main audio isn't working for some reason. So this tentacle sync, I think it's the track E. This little thing right here, this saved my behind on a shoot. This saved my behind on a shoot. It's a small little timecode box, and it does 32-bit float. So you can just get like a Sennheiser MKE2 or whatever lavalier that you have. Just make sure you get a good lavalier, and you can put it right in here. You can't monitor it from your phone. That's the only thing. You can't monitor the audio. You just have to look at the signals and to make sure that it's good. But it's 32-bit float, so you have a lot of headroom. And it's Bluetooth, so you connect it via Bluetooth, and you just leave this running, and man, this thing works. This thing works really well. So this is a great backup audio source that you can use in case your main audio source doesn't work. All right, so field recorders. Another great purchase I made was a field recorder. That's the Sound Devices. Field monitors. So this right here. This is amazing. The preamps sound great. There's a lot of inputs. This is just good. And it does 32-bit float as well. If you don't need this many inputs, you can always go with something like the Tentacle Sync MixPre 3 or the MixPre 6. The MixPre 6 is the best middle ground. I should have purchased this first. I purchased the MixPre 3, and then I realized I don't have enough inputs, so I jumped all the way to the MixPre 10 because the MixPre 6 was sold out for a very, very long time. So if you can, and if this is in your budget, go with the MixPre 6. You won't be disappointed. I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed. This is great. Wonderful device. All right, we're still in audio. And we are going to go to post audio. So this is what I use for like streaming and etc. The universal audio. Twin X. What's this, Gen 2? This is one of the best audio interfaces that you can buy. One of the best. I can't say too much negative things about it, other than the plugins are great. It has really good DSPs. It can get really expensive because when you buy the plugins, now you can't buy third-party plugins like Waves plugins and use it with the Apollo. You have to go with Apollo's plugins, and that is where it can get really expensive. Now, it sounds really good. It sounds really, really good, and you can stack plugins on top of plugins. You just have to have enough power, but it can get really expensive. Like after you buy this, you can definitely spend like another $1,000, $2,000 on plugins, depending on what type of plugins you're getting. The other thing is, like if you're streaming with this, it doesn't really have a good mixer. What do I mean by that? Meaning, if you are using something like Ecamm and you're using the Apollo as your microphone output, it's not going to sound as crisp. Now, what I do is I put universal audio through loopback, and through loopback, I put that into Ecamm, and it sounds way better, way better. But this handles all of my heavy processing for audio on my computer, and this is great. This is A1. Now you can go crazy and you can get like something like the X8, but that's if you're like, what's it, UAD X8? That's more if you're into like studio recording. Yeah. You got $2,900, and then you still got to turn around and buy a whole bunch of plugins and etc. I mean, it comes with this new bundle thing which has built-in plugins. So there's the Essential, and then there's Studio. This is the Mark II. I don't know too much about this. I'm still rocking the Mark I. So I don't know, but it's a great product. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's it for audio. I mean, there's quite a few other things that I've purchased, like lavalier microphones, Countryman. No, I don't have the Countryman. I have the Sanken. Cost 11. Great microphone. Wonderful microphone. Wonderful lavalier. This is amazing. It sounds good. I don't put it on every person though. I mostly use the Sennheiser MKE2. Yeah, this one right here. This is a great microphone. Wonderful microphone. It sounds good. It sounds good on almost everyone's voice. You can go a step further and buy something like the DPA, but that's if you have $700 for a lavalier. This is good. It sounds good. Now, a lot of people might be saying that this is kind of expensive. I can just go with a cheaper lavalier microphone, but listen to me. What I've learned in all these years that I've been doing this is get it right at the source first. So that goes for cinematography, that goes for audio, that goes for live streaming, that goes for podcasting. The reason being, yes, you can get a cheaper microphone, but you have to do a whole lot in post. And you can't add in post what you didn't receive live. For instance, like if your microphone doesn't pick up that much bass, you going in post and adding a lot of bass and EQ isn't going to sound too natural. So if you get it right in the production, whether that's live streaming or shooting a film and etc., your editor will thank you. And even if the editor is you won't have that much work to do, and it's just going to sound amazing. So let's go to the podcast world. So the podcast world, I use the Rode, of course. Rode Procaster. I can never. Is it? No, it's the Rodecaster. It's the Rodecaster Pro 2. Yes, this thing. I wish it would come down in price. I really wish it would come down in price. It's great. It's a great thing. But there's a few hiccups. I wish it would allow you to use external plugins, because the plugins inside of this, they're pretty good. But me coming from like an Apollo with third-party plugins, or if I'm doing live streaming and mixing in a DAW, using Waves plugins, it sounds much better. So I'm kind of limited with the plugins, the built-in plugins in this device. That's probably my only nitpick. But the things you can do with this thing is great. Like if I'm live streaming a wedding, I'm using this, definitely. It's really easy to use, and someone that doesn't really know too much about audio, I can put on this board and just tell them, look at the levels and use the fader to go up and down. It's really easy and it sounds really good. It's almost on par with the Mix Pre. Almost. Almost. So I would use this for like live streaming weddings, and as well as these comments. I would use this for like live streaming weddings as well as podcasts. Jeez, why couldn't I remember the word podcast? Okay, so the microphones I use for podcasts, they are the Shure SM7B. What? Now this is like the go-to. This is what everyone goes to when they talk about a podcast microphone. I got mixed feelings about this. I don't know. It's good. It's a dark microphone. It's like really dark, but it does really good on syllables. Like if someone is like really heavy with their S's, I'm gonna use this microphone on them. But if someone has like a really bassy, boomy voice, this is not the microphone for them whatsoever. Not at all. So I would go between this and the Electro Voice. RE20. Now this is a microphone. I like this microphone. This microphone is really good on my voice. It's a bit brighter than the SM7B. I don't know. It sounds better on my voice. So if I have to do a podcast for a client, I'll have a conversation with them, and based on like their voice and etc., I would use either the SM7B or the RE20. Now there is a microphone that I've seen and heard that I'm kind of interested in, which is the Earthworks. The Icon Pro and the Ethos. So these microphones I've seen recently, and they're around the same price as like the RE20 and the SM7B. But aesthetically, they look really good on camera. Now, if you're just doing a voice podcast, it doesn't matter. But if you're doing a video podcast, these things look really good on video. They sound really good as well. Now, I haven't tested any of them. So if Electro Voice ever comes across this video and wants to like, donate or lend one to me, like a small creator, to see what I think, because I'll put it through the ringer. I'm down with that, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, this I do like how the Icon Pro sounds versus the Ethos. Now, both of them are very similar. Then they don't have it without the pop filter or the windscreen. Now, this windscreen, you can take this off. This isn't like glued on. You can definitely take this off. But I've heard it on a YouTube video. And I do like how the Icon Pro sounds over the Ethos. So it just might be me. I just need to... Oh, it's cheaper too. It's like $50 cheaper. That's a win. What's the difference between this and the B? Is it just because it's black? You pay $50 more because it's black? That's crazy. But anyways, that's when it comes to audio. So these are not these, but let me go back because I haven't bought those. These are some of the best purchases I've made for microphones, audio in general. Yeah. Now, let's go to cameras. Now, where can I start? Okay, I do own Reds and like the Komodo X, etc. But now what I can say about the Komodo and the Komodo X, even the V-Raptor, is that on darker people, like our complexion, it looks really good. Cameras like Sony and etc., you have to do a lot of work for darker skin tones. But I'm not going to focus too much on cameras because cameras are pretty polarizing, and the things that they're coming out with nowadays, man, it's really good. Like Sony has the best autofocus. Like if you're doing like documentary work, ENG for like news, Sony camera with autofocus, you can't beat it. You really can't beat it. If you're doing things like sports, like if you have a contract with the NFL, I don't think you'll be watching this live. But like the Alexa is really good, and they're more gravitating towards the Alexa and the Sony Venice and etc. for broadcasting, which is very interesting. But what I will focus on are lenses. Lenses. Now, when a new camera comes out, you see a whole bunch of YouTubers getting on YouTube and making a bunch of videos about it, about this is the best camera that I've ever used, and it beats this camera, and it's so great, and I think I'll never change to another camera like 6 months after they sell the camera. I mean, they're just doing it for content. A lot of them are just doing it for content. But I would say lenses are some of the things that you should invest in. Really good lenses. Now, if you're doing Sony G Masters are like a no-brainer because you get great autofocus with them. If you're doing Canon, the Canon R, the L series, with the ring around, those are great. I don't have too many L series glass. I'm mostly using cinema glass. Now, the difference between cinema glass and regular photo glass, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. I was just about to turn on another light, but we already in too deep. So there are levels to cinema glass as well. So the first cinema glass I've ever purchased was the Sigma Cine 50 millimeter. This was the first cinema glass that I ever purchased, and it was great. It looked better than all the photo glass. I mean, I even had the Canon. I still do have the 100 millimeter macro lens, and I also have the 28-70 f2. That's a beautiful glass. It's really heavy though, but it's really beautiful. And I still use that from time to time if I have to do like streaming gigs or whatever the situation is. But this right here, this looks better than those glasses. There's some quirks to it. Not really quirks, some letdowns. The focus breathing on this thing is atrocious. Every time you focus, this thing breathes. So that's probably why it's $3,000. I know some people might be saying, bro, $3,000? Only $3,000? Yeah. This is cheap when it comes to cinema glass because Cook and Ingenue and a whole lot of people are on the anamorphic wave like Atlas and etc. Those Atlas is $10,000. So this is relatively cheap compared to those lenses. Another lens that I came across that is like really good, like Tokina. Vista Primes. These things right here. Now one lens is like almost what, $5,000. So it's 2,000 or 1,500 more than the Sigma. But oh boy, it looks way better than the Sigma. It sure does look way better than the Sigma. There isn't a lot of focus breathing as well. And you don't have to buy these lenses. You don't have to. You can just rent them. Like if you have like a specific gig and you need to use like this type of glass for like a couple of days, you can just rent it. It's going to be much cheaper. If you want to buy it if it makes sense, if you're like going to make that money back and if you're having enough work, or you can just rent it out to people you know. Don't go on ShareGrid and try to rent these things out, because I rented out my MixPre on ShareGrid and it was crazy. I know some people might have a pretty good time with ShareGrid, like they didn't have any problems, they rented it out, they get their money back, and etc. It doesn't happen with everyone. A lot of people will rent out your stuff and they won't care about it. They won't take care of it because it's rented. So your stuff will come back with chips and dings and all that stuff. So be careful. Just rent it out to people you do know that are responsible, and it will bring it back the same way you gave it to them. So this is great. But when it comes to like live streaming, I would recommend this, but most of the time you can't really get close to the stage or to the people when you're doing live streaming. So the Desio, like Katas, these are some good zooms. These are some great zooms. Now, this went back up. This went all the way back up. This was like around $2,000. This was actually cheaper than the Sigma. But that was around Christmas time at B&H. So yeah, pay attention to this. And B&H, from time to time, they have like deal zone, and some of these things drop in price. So just look out for it. Put it in your wish list or something and have like a reminder. So when it drops in price, you'll be aware of it. And again, you can rent these things out. The only thing about these lenses though, okay, let me start about the good things about these lenses. These lenses, they're great. They're parfocal. So as long as you set your focus, you can zoom in and zoom out and they keep focus. That's a beautiful thing. Wonderful thing about that. The glasses look really good. They're not as sharp. They have a bit of character to them, and they tend to go on the warmer side. But again, I mostly do video with people of darker skin tone. That's not really a problem, because the warmer the light, the warmer the lens, it makes our color in our skin pop a bit more. So those are the only things you should be aware of. There isn't much focus breathing, and there isn't a whole lot of chromatic aberration, which is like fringing. There isn't a lot of that as well. These are pretty good. These are pretty good. The 70 to 135. Now, if you're standing all the way back, 135 might not be enough. So those are things that you have to consider. I did want to like rent something like the 65 to 250. The Desio. Am I bugging? All right. Oh, it's a Tango. 280, 65 to 280. This is crazy amount of money. 11,000. This is crazy amount of money. I mean, you can find these used for like 7,000 and etc. because a lot of people return it at B&H, but it's still a crazy amount of money. I do want to rent it for a gig and I want to see how good it looks, but there is an alternative to this. It's the Chippo. Is it the Chippo? Or Chip Toe? Chippo. It's like a 75 to 280, I think. I can't remember. It's a Chinese brand. What is it? All right, let's do this. Let's go to Pro Video. Let's just go to Pro Video and lenses. Boom. And Cine Lens. And let's do brand. See all. Chopped. Yeah, chopped. Now see, 75 to 200. And it is 3,500 or 3,300. Way cheaper than that $11,000 DZO lens. And there has been a lot of good reviews about this lens. So this is a good alternative to that DZO. Now, this is if you need the far zoom. This is a great lens. This is a great lens. Not from experience, but from other people that I've seen using this at a high level. So yeah, so invest in lenses. Because if you put a great lens on a good or even an okay camera, you're going to get pretty good results. Now, if you have a great camera and a cheapo lens, the results aren't going to be that great. It's going to be good because of the camera and the camera sensor. But a bad lens, like one of those kit lenses, nah. They not going to let in too much light. It's not going to be that great. It's not going to be that great. So get a good lens. All right. So that's cameras. I mean, there's other things like V-mount batteries and etc., but that depends on the cameras you're getting. I want to concentrate on lights. Now, some of the best lights that I've purchased is aperture. I mean, there's OD lights like this, but you see this small little light right here? This little light is almost as powerful as the 300X. The 300X. And this is the 80C. This thing is so tiny and it's so bright, and the color accuracy is amazing because they're using a brand new Blair technology. So it's going to give you more accurate colors than the 300D or even the 600X. Is not as powerful as the 600X, or is there a 600D? I don't know. But this is top notch. This little light is top notch. Now, yes, it's a lot of money, but this is aperture. You're not only paying a lot for the brand, these things are super durable. Now, you can drop this light and it will still work. That's a fact. These things are really good. And if you're going for tube lights, there is the aperture InfiniBar. Now, they're pretty expensive. But the thing is, these lights can connect to each other. Like you can buy like two of these and connect them to the ends of each, and it will look like one consistent light. Like you won't see the break in the light. That's one of the features of these lights. It's really good as well on cameras, because some of the time you get like light flickers and etc. I mean, it can be a camera as well because you gotta set the right like shutter speed or shutter angle, because I mostly do with shutter angle because I use cinema cameras. But if you set the shutter correctly, you won't get too many flickers. But it also depends on the camera, because some of the cameras are not that great. It's bright. It lasts a long time. It's magnetic. So if you go into a gig and it has like metal beams and etc., you can stick it right there and it can be great. They're kind of, you can use them as practical lights as well. So if you're shooting a scene while you're in the bathroom and you want to do a more controlled light because your bathroom lights are like a ugly color, you can use this and you can flag it and get that nice controlled light. I mean, there are other things like the Amaran. The Amaran is the cheaper version of these, like the tubes and etc., but they're not as durable as this. This is a metal. At the back of it is metal. And again, if you drop this, I'm not sure if you drop it on the light side, if it'll, I don't know. I don't know if it'll endure that drop, but I haven't tried it. But if it drops on the backside, you're good. You're good to go. So this is good. Make sure you get also C-stands, because C-stands last forever. I don't really go with the newer C-stands. So those are the C-stands from like Amazon. I can't even talk. I don't really go with these. They might be the same, but the cheapest I would go is like Impact C-stands, because these are solid. These are pretty solid. I mean, some people have been saying that the newer C-stands are good as well, but you see these turtle legs right here? These are very important. If the turtle legs aren't durable, you will get a lot of shift and wobble. I ain't got no time for that, especially if I'm putting like expensive lights on these, or if I'm rigging it and putting a camera on these, I'm booming a camera. I don't have any time for that. So this, sandbags, as well as tripod. Yeah, now this tripod, Sackler float hat. All right. Let's go to just the sticks. Some of the best sticks I've ever purchased. I went through Manfrotto tripod's legs. I've also used, now when I first started out, I've had like cheaper sticks because my wife was into photography and she wanted me to take pictures, and she had something that she got from Amazon, and I would use that throughout the entire filming career. And boy, when I told you that thing broke, and it was unrepairable. It didn't even drop. It just, after use, regular use, it just broke. And then I went to the Manfrotto, and over time, the Manfrotto's legs, because most of the time with Manfrotto, it has, you can lock it in 3 places. It would slide due to the weight over time. Even if you don't put that much weight on it, it'll still slide and collapse, which is what you don't want if your rig is like 10 grand with your camera and lens and whatever. You don't want that happening. These right here, I've never had an issue with these. And plus, since I'm tall, this latch mechanism right here at the top, the best thing. Now, there's a lot of tripods that came out with the one lever release and collapse type of mechanism. I haven't tried those. I haven't found a need to upgrade from these, because once I got these, I have never received an issue. And I'm telling you, I've traveled with these things, and when it comes to the airport, some of those guys throw your stuff, and these things haven't broken. So yeah, those are good. And the last thing, pterodax. Oh no, not the XT. Definitely not. Not the XTs. These right here. And the cool thing about pterodax is, why is these the gold mount? Yeah. And things about pterodax, boy, these things work. But there's sometimes that they don't work. we can get into that at a later time. Some of the times they don't work. Like if you're in a location and there's a lot of radio frequencies, these can give you an issue from time to time. But if you use like the mushroom antennas, like these right here, the mushroom antennas. Like if anyone come across like these mushroom antennas that are not from pterodax, because pterodax be taxing, 4 of these for $350 is absurd. So if anyone comes across these H antennas for a cheaper price that works on the pterodax, let me know, because I definitely want to try them. But if you use these with these, they're called V antennas, your signal will be way better and it's way more reliable. So they are different wireless transmitters. So for those who don't know, these are wireless transmitters. So a lot of people, like a couple of gigs I went to, some people would use a very long HDMI and run it from the cameras by the stage all the way back to their desk where they have like A10 mini and etc. These are amazing because with these you don't have to roll up the HDMI cable or SDI cable and move around with it, and then people are walking and tripping on it. Nah, just get these and you're good to go. Now there are different versions. Now there are like Hollylands, there are Axoons, and there are a whole bunch of other brands, Vaxis as well, that use wireless transmitters. Like things like the Vaxis as well as the Cinegear Ghost Eyes, they're really good at wireless transmitting. They even go through walls much better than the pterodax. But the thing is, a lot of them are only 1080p, and pterodax transmits 4K. Now, the other thing that makes pterodax really good, not because it's zero latency, because there's like Hollyland is very close to zero latency as well, but this sends, let me see if I can find it. Specs. Let me see if it listed. Excuse me. Nope, it doesn't. Okay, so what this does is it sends uncompressed video. So it sends an uncompressed signal to the receiver, and that just makes the video look way better. Now, you don't have to send a 4K signal. You can send 1080p, because if your camera only does 1080p, that's fine. But what this does with the uncompressed signal that is sending to the receiver, it just makes the video look way better than the Hollyland the Axum, Cinegears, and Vaxis. It looks better than all of them. So that's why I stick with this, even though things like the Vaxis and the Cinegears are better with the range and the transmission through walls and etc. This is just top notch. So yeah, these are the things that I use, and they're some of the best purchases that I've made. Some of the best purchases I've made. So I hope from this video you guys were able to learn something. Now, you might not be able to get a lot of these things. A lot of them might not be in budget, but learn from my mistakes. If you get it right at the source, there won't be a whole lot of editing and a whole lot of fixing to do, because you can spend way more time editing, color correcting, editing audio than on the actual shoot. Because a shoot can last you probably like 2 days or even 1 day if you're doing a live stream event. But if you have to edit that thing, it can last you probably 2 weeks, a couple of months, just trying to fix stuff instead of like storyboarding and making sure it looks good and it makes sense, the story makes sense, and it sounds good. So learn from my mistakes. You're going to spend regardless. You're either going to spend a lot of money and save time, or you're going to spend less money and lose more time. So the question is, which is more valuable to you? Is time more valuable, or is money more valuable? To me, time is way more valuable. I was 22 and I can never be 22 again. You know what I'm saying? So it depends on what you see as more valuable. And yeah, that's about it. Well, hope you guys enjoy the rest of the night. I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. Holla at me if you got any questions about any of these things, and I can elaborate a bit more on these. So yeah, have a good one. Peace.